Fine, good afternoon to you all students. Hi students, how are you? So I hope you all are fine. Warm greetings to you all. So I hope you all are doing well. So welcome to our today's online class students. So now we are studying about chapter 12. So what's the title of our chapter? Structured Query Language. Isn't it? So before I am going to start about today's portion, so just recall what are things you have studied at the last class. Okay. So last class you have studied about data types in SQL. Isn't it? So what do you mean by data type? So the particular in all the data are stored in tables. So each column will have separate data type. Isn't it? So and also you have studied DDL command. So are you remembering? So which DDL command you have studied last class? Creation of table. So what's the use of creation of table? So you can able to create table using create table command. Okay. So today we are going to study about constraints. Okay. So what do you mean by constraint and what's the purpose of constraint? Okay. So already we have studied about creation of table. So what's the syntax for creation of table? Create table, table name, then column name, data type and size. Okay. So for example, you are going to create a table containing the details, student details, admission number, name, gender, age and place. Okay. So these are the details you are going to insert in the table. Okay. So you can able to enter any number of values for the each field. But some fields or some columns you should set some conditions. What do you mean by conditions? So conditions, what do you mean by constraints? So you need to set some condition for some columns. So this column becomes important. For example, if you are applying any online applications or online forms, so you can see. So entering the Aadhaar card number, that's the important thing. Or entering your age, that's the important thing. Date of birth, that's the important thing. So that which are the fields are important, that they have mentioned in a red color symbol. Okay. So likewise, the constraints are used to set some condition for each field. Understand? So using these constraints, you can able to mention or you can able to ensure accuracy for the database. So accurate details you can able to enter in the database. Okay. So you can able to enter the constraints, two kinds of constraints. Okay. So constraints you can be given for either you can given as column or in table. Okay. So constraints is applicable for both column level as well as table level. Understand? So what do you mean by column constraint? So column constraint means, so the particular condition is applied to some individual column. Okay. For example, in table 3 or 4 or 5 columns are there. Name, age, gender. Okay. 3 or 4 or 5 columns are there. Okay. So you are going to apply some condition for one column or two columns. Okay. So that is called column constraint. Okay. You can able to apply the constraint for individual column. Understand? That means only one column. Column constraint means you are going to apply some condition for only one column. That is called column constraint. Understand? So next one is table constraint. Okay. So table constraint means, so you can able to apply condition for more number of columns. Not only one or two columns, more number of columns you can able to apply conditions. Understand? That is called table constraints. So understand the difference between column constraint and table constraint. Column constraint means conditions you are applying to one individual column. Table constraint means you are applying condition for more number of columns. Understand? Yes. So first they are giving the example for creation of table. First they are given the syntax for creation of table with column constraint. Okay. So what's the syntax for creation of table? So create table, table name. Then inside the bracket, this is all very important. Same thing you are going to do for your practicals also. Then column name, data type, size, then column constraint. Okay. Likewise, all the columns you should mention. Okay. So table constraint means you should give table constraint, then column name. Understand? So see this example, then only you will get understand. Okay. So in this example, you are giving column constraint is not null. Okay. So you are giving column constraint is which constraint? Not null. So what's the meaning of not null means? So particular field will have some values. Okay. So you are entering. See this example. Listen. So first, what's the syntax for creation of table? Create table name. So what's the table name here? Student. Okay. So create table name. What's the table name here? Student. Then see bracket. So what's the column name? First column name is admission number. Then what's the second thing? Data type. So what's the data type? Integer. Okay. Then size here they are not mentioning. Okay. Then column constraint. See, they are giving not null. So what's the meaning of not null means? So this admission number column will have some values. Okay. That means not null will have some values. You should give some values for the admission number. Okay. So that is not null. Understand? So which are the fields are very important. You are going to enter lot of things in a table. Okay. So in the table lot of columns also there. Okay. So among this column all the columns are not important. 1 or 2 columns will be important. For example, so you are entering your class detail. Okay. Your class student details. So name, age, phone number, date of birth, address, everything you are entering. Then community. So among that, which are the fields are very important? Name is very important. Then phone number is very important. Date of birth is very important. Isn't it? So likewise, which fields are most important? So that fields you can able to give constraints. Understand? Which field should have values? That field you can give constraints. Understand now what do you mean by constraint? So here they are giving admission number. So unknowingly you are not entering the admission number means whether you can able to find admission number for the student. No, that field is very must. Okay. So all the students will have separate admission number, isn't it? So admission number field is must. So you are giving not null constraint for the field admission number. Understand? Next one is see. What's the second column name? Name. Then what's the data type? Character. So of 20. What's the meaning of 20? You can able to enter name till 20 characters. Understand? So name is also must. Name is also must. So you are giving the constraint is not null. Understand? Next, what's the column name? Gender. So gender is of type character. So size is gender. You can enter either female F or M. So the place value is 1. Then age and place. Understand what you mean by constraint? So here you are giving conditions or constraint for 2 columns. What are the columns? Admission number and name. So remaining fields have any constraints? No. Remaining fields will not have any constraint. The first 2 columns, admission number and name will have constraints not null. Understand? Yes. Then next we are going to study about types of constraints. Okay. So what are the types of constraint? So what's the use of constraints? So by using these constraints you can improve the accuracy of the database or integrity of the database. Okay. So there are mainly 4 types of constraints are there. Okay. So mainly how many types of constraints are there? 4. What are they? Unique constraint, primary key constraint, default constraint and check constraint. Say, so what are the 4 types of constraint? Unique constraint, primary key constraint, default constraint and check constraint. Okay, understand? Yes. So now we are going to study about each constraints in detail one by one. So first type of constraint is unique constraint. So name itself having unique. So what's the meaning of unique? Identical or same. Isn't it? So unique constraint mean, so here this what's the use of this constraint mean? It will check no 2 rows have same value. Okay. So no 2 rows have the same value in the column. For example, you are entering so your class student details. Okay. So forgetly you are typing the student name, same student name 2 times. Okay. So unknowingly you are typing the same student name 2 times. Okay. So it is very difficult because consider you are entering the 12th standard details for all the students. So it is very difficult to find whether all the details are correct or not. Okay, because nearly 250 or 300 students are there. So you are entering nearly 300 student details. So one by one column you need to check. That's a very difficult task, isn't it? So to avoid that one, so you are using which constraint? Unique constraint. Okay, so it will check what's the use of unique constraint means. It will check so no two rows will have same values in the columns. Okay, so here they are giving one example. So listen, in this example they are applying unique constraint in the field of admission number. Just think whether two students will have same admission number. No, so two students will have sometimes same name, but initial will be different. Same name, that's possible. Same age is possible. But whether two students will have same admission number? No. So that kind of field you will choose and give unique constraint. Okay. So unknowingly you are entering the same admission number for two students means, so it will give alert message. So it's not correct because you are giving unique constraint. Understand about unique constraint? So what's the use of unique constraint? So it will ensure no two rows have the same value. Okay. So see this example. So for the same example they are giving, for what you need to do first? First you need to create the table. What's the syntax? Create table name. What's the table name here? Student. Okay. So these are the details. What are the details? What are the column names you are giving? Admission number, name, gender, age and place. Admission number of data type, integer. Name is of data type, character. So each you are giving. So listen, first field you are giving not null. Okay. So what's the use of not null? First two fields, admission number should have some values. Likewise, name also should have some values. Next, so you are giving unique constraint for the first field. Okay. So what's the use of unique constraint? So no two students have same admission number. So it will check you are entering the details whether any two students will have same admission number. If you are entering any two students have same admission number means it will give error message. Understand what's the use of unique constraint? Yes. So for example also if they explain the types of constraint means you should explain each heading what's the meaning of that one with example you should explain. Then only you will get 5 marks. Understand? Yes. Next, so in that example how many fields they have given? Unique constraint is applied for first field. Isn't it? What's the name of the field? Admission number. Okay. So listen, if two constraints are applying for the same field. Okay. So two constraints are applying for the same field. We are called as multiple constraints. Understand what do you mean by multiple constraint? So if you are applying two constraints for the single field, that same field you are applying two constraints, that we are calling as which constraint? Multiple constraint. So see that example. So here you are applying not null. First field you are applying not null. Already you are applying not null constraint. Next you are applying unique. So two types of constraints you are applying in the field admission number. Okay. So then we can call that as a multiple constraint. The same field admission number. So you are applying two constraints. What are they? Not null as well as unique. So if you are applying two constraints at the same field, you should specify with a space between them. Okay. So each constraint, between each constraint you should separate it by a space. See this example, and also at the end you should provide a comma. So here two constraints you are specifying. What are they? Not null as well as unique. Okay. So if you are specifying two constraints on the same field, so you should leave some space between two constraints, and also at the end you should provide comma. Understand? Yes. So here what's the meaning of not null? So not null means you should give some values for the field. Understand about unique constraint? Yes. Then what do you mean by multiple constraint? If two constraints are applied to the same field, then we can call this a multiple constraint. Understand? Yes. So next type of constraint is primary key constraint. Okay. So what's the second type of constraint? primary key constraint. So what's the use of this primary key constraint mean? So it will, by using this constraint, you can uniquely identify a record. What do you mean by uniquely? For example, first itself I said you are entering your class student details. Okay. So among the student details, some student details you should, for example, you are entering the marks for your class student. Okay. You are entering marks for your class student. Okay. So in that table, you should highlight those students will score above 90 marks. Okay. So in the table, you should highlight, you need to highlight those students score above 90 marks. Okay. By seeing the table itself, you can identify. So you are giving, for example, all the things you are written in a blue ink. So only those students are scoring above 90 mark, you are writing in black ink. By seeing itself, you can identify easily. Easily. Likewise, by entering the details, some fields you can uniquely identify. Okay. For that kind of fields, you can give which constraint? Primary key constraint. Understand? Yes. So what's this of primary key constraint? It is mainly used to uniquely identify a record. Okay. So, but what's the thing means? You can able to apply only one field as a primary key. Understand? You can able to apply only one field as a primary key. Okay. So, this primary key does not allow null values. That means you should, if you are mentioning some field as a primary key, you should give some values for the field. Okay. What do you mean by null? Null means 0. Okay. You are not entering any values, but you should give not null values. If you are giving primary key means you should enter some values for the primary key. Okay. Now we can see the example. Listen. So, first field they are giving admission number. So, what's the first thing you are giving? Not null. Okay. Next, primary key. So, already you have studied. If you are giving primary key constraint means you should give not null constraint. That means that field must have some values. Isn't it? That is called primary key constraint. Understand? By if you are giving primary key constraint for the admission number, so by that field, admission number field alone highlighted. Or you can uniquely identify that field alone, admission number field alone. Understand? So you are giving, first field you are giving not null constraint as well as primary key. What's the meaning? So if you are giving primary key constraint means that field should have some values. Okay. So you are setting primary key for the field admission number. Understand? Yes. So next type of constraint is default constraint. What's the next type of constraint? Default constraint. Okay. So if you are specifying, if you are assigning some, if you need to assign some default values for the field. Okay. So if you need to assign some default values to the field means you can give which type of constraint? Default constraint. Understand? So what do you mean by default constraint? If you need to assign a default value for the field. Okay. So some field you should assign some default values. That times you can use which kind of constraint? Default constraint. Okay. So if you are not specifying any value for that default constraint, it is automatically assigned with some value. Okay. If you are not giving any value for the, if already you have given some default constraint, but you are not giving any value means automatically it will assign default value for that field. Understand what's the use of default constraint? So default constraint is used to specify some default values for the field. Okay. So if you are not giving some values means it will automatically assign default values. Understand? So see this example. See. So create table student. So first they are giving admission number, then integer not null. First they are giving not null and primary key. So you can uniquely identify a record admission number. So name also you are giving not null. That means both admission number and name should have some values. Then gender age. Listen carefully. Age integer default equal to 17. So you are entering default constraint here. So what's the use? For example, so if you are entering the now for voting schemes they are giving new name list, isn't it? What's the default age for voting list? 18. So that kind of, So those who have above age 18, they are eligible to vote, isn't it? Likewise, what's the default values for voting? 18. So likewise, if you need to give some default values for the particular fields, you can give default constraint. So here you have given default constraint or default value is 17. So you no need to enter the age for the students. Automatically it will give the default value is 17. Understand what you mean by default constraint? So default constraint means it will automatically assign default values for the particular field. Understand about default constraint? Yes. So next one is check constraint. Okay. So check constraint is used to check some conditions in the field. Okay. So you are giving some restrictions for the particular field. So based on the restrictions, it will check whether the condition is satisfied or not. Understand what I mean by check constraint? So check constraint is mainly used to check the limitations, or you are giving some condition for the field. So you are going to check the particular field whether this condition is satisfied by the field or not. Okay, that is called check constraint. Okay, so best example, last default constraint said on example, same example. So is eligible for voting those who have age above 18. Okay, so here also they have given, listen. So the same table, the student table, they are giving admission number 2, not null primary key. Listen, age integer check less than or equal to 19. Okay, so here what's the condition means that you are entering the student detail, but the student details needs to satisfy the age less than or equal to 19. That is check constraint. So it will check, you are entering the 10 student, for example, you are entering 10 student detail. So it will check each student, it will check whether the age is less than or equal to 19. Understand about the check constraint? Check constraint means, so you are giving the condition less than or equal to 19. So it will check based on the condition whether the student age is less than or equal to 19. Understand? Understand about check constraint? Yes. So next is the table constraint. Okay. So table constraint means, so if you are applying a group of, or if a constraint is applied to group of fields in a table. So already you have studied about constraints you have applied in column, rows, or one column or two columns, isn't it? But here you are going to apply a constraint in group of fields of a table. For example, 2 or 3 or 4 column fields you are applying constraint. A group of fields you are applying constraint. That type of constraint is called which kind of constraint? Table constraint. Understand what I mean by table constraint? So if you are going to apply, so conditions or constraints, the more number of fields in the table. That type of constraint we are calling as a table constraint. Understand? So table constraint is always you will give at the end of the table definition. Okay. So table constraint is always will give at the end of the table definition. Okay. So here one example they are giving. So in that example they are giving. So what are the fields they are giving means. So admission number, first name, last name, gender, age and place. So here they are applying table constraints in some field. See this example. So what are the columns? What are the fields you have? Admission number, first name, last name, gender, age, place. Okay. But you are going to apply table constraints. What do you mean by table constraints? You are going to apply some condition for more than one fields in a table. So always the table constraint should be applied at the last or end of the table. Okay. Listen carefully. So here already you have given what's the not null constraint for which field admission number. That means the admission number field will have some values. Next, primary key of first name comma last name. So this is the table name. Okay. So here, so which is the primary key? In the name you are entering no. What are the fields? First name comma last name you are giving the key as primary key. Constraint as primary key. But two fields you are giving primary key. That is called table constraint. So uniquely you can identify the field first name as well as last name. Understand what I mean by table name? Table constraint. So you are applying constraints or condition for more than one fields of a table. So what are the fields you are applying? First name as well as last name you are applying a primary key constraint. So, but you should specify the constraint at the last of the table. So, we can call this as a table constraint. Understand? So, what are the types of constraints you have studied one? So, one time you remember? Recall it. Unique constraint, primary key constraint, default constraint and check constraint. Unique constraint means uniquely you can able to identify a record. Primary constraint means, unique constraint means it will check no two rows have unique values, isn't it? Primary key constraint means, so uniquely you can able to identify a record. Default constraint means it will check for the default values. Check constraint means it will check for the condition. Table constraint means you are applying constraint for more than one field. That is called table constraint. Understand? Yes. So next we are going to study about DML commands. Okay. So what do you mean by DML? Data manipulation language, isn't it? So here, here DML only, DDL. What's the DDL? DDL means data definition language. That means in DDL you will only define the things. What are the things you are going to do? So only you will give define or definitions for the commands. But DML not like that. You are going to do some operations or manipulating some operations. That will come under which one? DML. Okay. So what are the operations you are going to do? Insert, delete or update. Okay. What are the operations you are going to do? Insert, delete and update. Okay. So each and everything you are going to study in detail. Understand? So first command is insert command. Okay. What's the first command you are going to study? Insert command. Okay. So what's the use of insert command? What's the use of insert? So this command is mainly used to insert new data into the table. Okay. What's the use of insert command? So the insert command is mainly used to insert new data into the table or new records into the table. Understand? So listen carefully. So already you have studied it's the syntax for creation of table. What's the syntax for creation of table? Create table, table name, column name, data type and size, isn't it? Next, each and every syntax is very, very important. Okay, don't blunder mistakes in the syntax. Okay. Okay. Then this is the syntax for insert command. What's the syntax means? Listen carefully. Insert into. What's the meaning into? So you are going to put some values in the table, isn't it? So insert into, listen carefully, now itself study. Insert into, where you need to insert the values? Table name. Okay. So you should mention the table name. So from the table, inside the table, where you need to insert? Column. Okay. So first insert into table name, column list, then values. So what are the values you need to enter? All the values you should give inside this bracket. Then ends with semicolon. Very, very important. Once more, what's the syntax for inserting data? Insert into table name, then column list, then values, then inside you can give values ends with semicolon. Understand? So listen. So this is the example. Say listen carefully. What's the syntax? Insert into table name. So what's the table name here? Student. What's the table name? Student. Then, so these are the columns. What are the columns? So what are the fields? Column fields. Admission number, name, gender, age and place. This will come under heading for the each column. Understand? So now you have entered the field. Now you need to enter the values for the field. Isn't it? For that, what's the syntax? Values. Then inside the bracket you need to enter the values for each. That's very, very important. Here you are given how many fields? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So you should enter how many values? 5 values for each field. See, listen. So 100. So each field is separated with commas. That's very, very important. Each field you should separate it by commas. Okay. So what's the first field? 100. That is admission number is 100. Name is Ashish. Then gender is male. Then age is 17. Place is Chennai. So first row you have entered. Understand? Likewise, you need to enter for each and every rows. Understood? So first row entered. Then second row. Insert into same format. So insert into student. Same. So each time you need to mention the field. Okay. So same thing. Admission number, name, gender, age and place. Then values. Then next row values. See. Next row values 102. Adarsh, M, 18 and Delhi. Okay. So now you have entered. How many rows you have entered now? 2 rows. Isn't it? How many rows you have entered? 2 rows. See the output. See the output. See. What are the field you have entered? Admission number, name, gender, age and place. See admission number, name, gender, age and place. So what's the first value you have entered? First row value 100 Ashish M17 Chennai. See the first row. Then second row, see the values. This is not 101. Okay, 102. So say change this as 102. Okay. See 102 Adarsh M18 Delhi. So understand the concept about insert command. So now you have inserted 2 rows. Okay. So now you have inserted 2 rows. Okay. So this now each time inserting you are specify the field for each field. Isn't it? Each column name you are specifying, but that's an optional thing. That's not important. So without specifying the column field also you can able to enter the values. Okay. See for that what's the format means, listen carefully. Without you are entering the already first time you need to enter. First time you need to enter. Next time no need to enter the column field. See what's the format means, insert into table name. What's the table name? So insert into student. Then this field name no need to enter because already field name you have entered. So no need to enter the field name again. So directly you can enter the values for the field. Okay. So you are entering the values. Okay. 102 Akshit M17 Bangalore. So this by using this command also you can enter the values. Okay. See the output. What row you are entering now? 102 Akshit M17 Bangalore. Okay. So in this example, please change it. This insert into, don't change here. Here 101 only, correct only. But here you need to change. Because the next field also 102 is there, no? So first here you change 102 as 101 in your textbook also. Okay, understand? Understand? So in your textbook, take page number 215. So here the value is the second thing. This is not 102. This is 101. Okay? 101. Okay. So this is the format you are going to insert the values without specifying the field. Understand? Next you are going to study about inserting the field. So you have entered lot of fields in the table. What are the field? Admission number, name, gender, place and everything, age and place. But you are going to enter only some field details. You are not going to enter all the field values. Okay, you are going to enter only some field details. Okay, for that this is the format. See, what's the format? Insert into is common for all the sin. Okay, so insert into, what's the common name? What's the table name here? Student. Insert into student. So listen, only 3 fields I am going to enter the values. Okay, how many fields I am going to enter the values? 3 fields. What are they? Admission number, name and place. But here how many fields are there? See, admission number, name, gender, age and place. But among these I am going to enter for only 3 fields. What are the fields? Admission number, name and place. Understand? So listen carefully. This is the format. So insert into table name. How many fields you are going to enter the values? That field you need to mention. Then values. So what are the values you need to enter? For admission number you are giving values 103. Then name is you are giving the values Ayush. And places you are giving the value Delhi. Then semicolon. Understand? Now see the output. So admission number is 103. Name is Ayush. Place and all no need to enter. Already gender already M is there. Age also already 18. The same value. If you are not entering some field, that default value it will take as a values. Okay. So the place you are entering as Delhi. Understand? This is the 3 fields you are entering. This is the format for entering 3 or 4 fields. Okay. Then, so here what's the format means? So here you are not entering the gender M and the age 18. Only 3 fields. What are the fields you have entered? Admission number, name and place. So if you are not entering the some fields means it will take as a default value. Okay. So it will take gender as a M and the age as a 18 as a default value. Understand? The same thing only. Same, the next also they are insert into student, admission number, name and place. Values. Second values they are giving. 104 Abhinan Chennai. So 104 here also you are not entering the gender value as well as age value. So it will take the default value as a gender M and the age is 18. So here how many rows you have inserted? First onwards, see. First you have inserted 2 rows. Second, without mentioning the field, you are mentioning third row. Then fourth row. This is fourth row and fifth row. See the output. This is the final output. Understand? So likewise, you can able to enter any number of student details. Understand? You can able to enter any number of student details. So understand about insert command? Understand or not? Yes. So this is the final output. Okay. So next command is delete command. Okay. So what's the next command? Delete command. So name itself having delete. Okay. What's the use of delete? So it will delete the record. Okay. That's the important thing. So delete command is mainly used to permanently remove the records from the table. Okay. So what's the use of delete command? Delete command is mainly used to permanently remove the record from the table, not a temporarily. So if you are giving the delete command using the SQL queries means it will permanently delete the record from the table. Okay. So either it can delete the entire row or entire column. Okay. So here no field you need to mention. Okay. So if you are deleting something means the entire row it will get. If you mention any one of the field among the row, if you are mentioning any one of the field among the row, so it will delete the entire row. Understand? Yes. So this is the syntax for delete command. Okay. What's the syntax? See. Delete from table name. Please listen carefully. Insert into. You need to put the values into the table. So insert into. So you delete. You are deleting from the table. Okay. So then for that delete from table name. Understand? So delete from table name where condition. You need to give some condition. Understand? So delete from table name where you need to mention some conditions. Understand? So what's the thing? What's the syntax for delete command? Delete from table name where you are going to give the condition. Okay. So see this example. Here you are giving delete from. What's the table name here? So what's the table name? Student. So what's the condition you are giving means where admission number equal to 104. Okay. So delete from student. What's the meaning? So you are going to delete from the table student. So which row you are going to delete? Which row will have the admission number 104? That row you are going to delete. Understand what's the meaning of delete? So you are going to delete from the table student. The condition is which row will have the admission number 104, that row will get deleted permanently. Okay. So see, what's the row? And see this one, this is the output, no? So which row will have 104? This one, 104 Abhinand M 18 Chennai. So that row will get permanently deleted. Understand now what's the use of delete command? Yes. So if you need to delete the entire table. Okay. So if you need to delete all the details from the table. Okay. So at that time you should use delete. So this is the syntax for delete the entire fields from the, or even if you need to delete all the fields from the table, you should use this command, or this is a syntax for deleting all the details from the table. So delete star, that's the important. Star means it will take all the fields. Select star means it will select all the field. Delete star means it will delete all the field. Okay. So delete star from student. What's the meaning from student? So you are going to delete from the table student. Understand what's the meaning? Delete star from student. So you are going to delete from the table student. Okay. So if you are giving this command means, so automatically it will delete what are the how many details, that's no problem. How many fields you are entering in the table, all the fields will get deleted or destroyed permanently. Okay. So and also you can able to delete that entire table command, the entire table fields using another one command called drop command. Okay. So what's another one command used for deleting all the fields from the table? Drop command. So two types of commands you can use to delete the data. What are they? Delete command and drop command. So to delete the entire table, what's the format? Delete star from table name. If you give this command means you will get all the data, all the fields from the table will get deleted permanently. Only one row alone if you need to delete means you should give this delete from student. So where you should mention some conditions. So where? So which condition? So you can mention where admission number or place or any field you can mention as a condition. Okay. So okay, up to so please listen. So your exam portion is chapter 1 half-yearly exam. Next Monday onwards your half-yearly exam, isn't it? So your exam portion is chapter 1 to 12. Okay, so your exam portion is chapter 1 to 12. So up to 12th chapter, from where I have completed till Saturday, up to that you have exam portion. Understand what's the exam portion for half-yearly? Chapter 1 to 12. Okay, so please study thorough. So what's the homework for you now today means? So types of constraints, very very important question. To types of constraints, after completion of this session, please study and write and see. Okay, remaining you can continue in the next class. Thank you students.